Good evening, welcome, thank you for being here. My name is Joey Abels, and I am the manager of Maryville University Hillel, the host of this evening's program. Hillel is a dynamic center for Jewish life at Maryville. Our mission is to create a vibrant and sustainable community on campus. Hillel is your go-to place to learn about Jewish holidays and traditions and to celebrate the joy of Jewish culture, whether you are Jewish or not. You are welcome at Hillel. While programming at Hillel typically centers on Jewish joy and celebrations, there are times when it is important to acknowledge the harshness and oppression that has been faced in periods of Jewish history. The Holocaust was the systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others by the Nazi regime and its allies and collaborators. The Holocaust developed into a machine of murderous efficiency, but it did not begin in the gas chambers. It began with words and escalating anti-Semitism that gradually increased what ordinary Germans would tolerate. The Nazis counted on indifference and silence as they ratcheted up their anti-Jewish rhetoric and actions. Rachel Miller knows what happens when anti-Semitism and hatred is met with indifference. Born in Paris in 1933, Rachel's happy and loving childhood was upended by the Nazi regime and the culture of racism and intolerance it glorified. Today, we are privileged to hear Rachel Miller share her story with us. After her presentation, we will have a few moments to take questions from the audience, both in the auditorium and on Zoom. Now, with gratitude and with respect, I'm honored to present Ms. Rachel Miller.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you very much, Joey. Thank you for having me, and good evening to, it's close to evening. Good evening to everybody, and I will tell you my story. I'm just going to look for my pointer. And, oh, that helps. Is everybody okay? Good. And everybody's getting ready for Thanksgiving? Good. Okay. My name is Rachel Miller. In French, it's Rachel. Goldman is my maiden name, and Miller is my married name. I was the youngest of 4 children, and the only one born in France. My family came from Warsaw, Poland. My father was a barber, my mother was a housewife, and they had a very, very happy life in Warsaw until they wanted my father to serve in the Polish army, and there was a lot of anti-Semitism. So he decided to move to France, and the reason he decided to move to France is because he had a brother and a sister living there, and my mother had 2 brothers. They were family-oriented. They arrived in France in 1932. I was born in 1933. For my mother, it must have been a big shock where we were living, because we lived in a 2-room apartment with no running water. We did have a toilet. In Poland, they had a lovely home and help and so forth and so on. All I can remember as a little girl was just love, happiness, and wonders. We used to get together with all my aunts and uncles and cousins, and we used to speak and sing in 3 different languages: Yiddish, French, and Polish. I don't speak Polish. As I said, it was wonderful. every week I look forward to that Saturday night when we would get together with the family. It was a Sunday morning. That was the only day that my father was not working. He was a barber. I think I mentioned it before. I'm repeating myself. And that was the day, as I said, he wasn't working. I was sitting on the buffet near the window, and my father was going to cut my hair. And I heard him say to my mother, "It's beginning of doom." I was 6 years old, but it registered in my brain. That was the day that Germany invaded Poland, December 1, 1939. I heard it, and I forgot about it. I went on with everything that was normal, went to school, got together on Saturday. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day in August 20th, 1941. Well, let's go back. I want to show some pictures, and then I'll come back to August 41. This is my Aunt Rose, and you're going to hear a lot about her. This is her sister, Eva, my paternal grandparents, and this is my oldest brother, Adolphe. This is my mother with one of her sisters, my mother with one of her sisters. I assume this is a brother or a sister. I'm not sure. This is all Poland. This is my parents' engagement picture. And this is their wedding announcement. They were married in March of 1923. This is my mother with my brother Adolphe, my brother Henri, and my sister Sabine. This is one of my mother's sisters, and I have a lot of her pictures. She must have been a favorite. This is my maternal grandmother, and this is my sister, Sabine. She was so beautiful. This is still Poland. My father, my mother, and my mother's brother, Aaron. He lived in France. I don't remember his wife or his children. I don't remember their name. This is my maternal grandmother and my siblings, Adolphe, Henri, and Sabine. This is the other picture with my paternal grandmother, my father, my mother, and my grandmother, and my siblings. June 20th, 1941, the Germans spoke to Pétain, and Pétain, who was the Marshal of France, spoke to the Nazis, and they agreed that the Nazis could come into Paris providing they did not bomb Paris. They had bombed several cities in France, but they didn't want them to bomb Paris. As a little girl, I want to jump. I'll come back to this. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong signal. I want to show we'll come back to this. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, we're missing when the soldiers came into Paris. Okay. This is a picture of my family. My father, my mother, my older brother Adolphe, my brother Henri, my sister Sabine, and this is me. This is my sister Sabine, and this is me. And when I look at those pictures, which I did not remember, but obviously my mother used to dress us alike, it really makes me feel so happy because I adored my sister. And the fact that we shared that together still gives me so much joy. This is my mother in the country, my mother with my Aunt Rose. This is my mother's brother, and that's his wife, Fanny. And this is my cousin, Michelle. And they lived in Paris, and I don't remember those darling faces. This is us, all of us in the country, and Her name was Rachel also, just like, and that's me over here. This looks like a school picture when they arrived from Poland to France. This was the Jewish quarter in Paris prior to the war. You were able to buy anything you wanted, from a needle to a house. It had everything you could possibly imagine. It was a very, very vibrant area. I was there, about, I want to say 8 years ago, and they were still rebuilding this area. The first time I saw it, which was like in 1970, they had 2 blocks long. It will never be what it was, but they're really rejuvenating that area. This is a picture of my father. He did not serve, and I'm pointing with my cane, he did not serve in the Polish army. I mean, yes, in the Polish army, but he served in the French army. And then we're back to Paris. We go on. Let's go forward. One more. This is what I wanted. Now we're back to where I started to say. I was 7 years old when the Germans were invited in Paris. I want you to know that the French people gave them flowers, chocolate, anything that they wanted. It was amazing. When I saw them, they looked like robots. Of course, there were no robots in those days, but the precision in which they were walking, and they had absolutely no expressions on their face. I ran upstairs, and I kept crying, and my mother said to me, "What happened? Did you fall down? Did anybody hurt you?" All I kept saying is, "I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid." I had every reason to be afraid. Subsequently to that, things were still normal. We got together on Saturday, so forth and so on. August 20th, 1941, a beautiful day. Let me tell you about our building. We had 2 black wooden doors. Within the wooden doors, there was a courtyard. And it started with A, B, C, so forth and so on. With that, Monsieur Martin, who lived across the way from us, came knocking at our door and said, "Monsieur Goldman, please come with me. They're picking up the Jews and taking them to a labor camp." My father did not question it. He took a suitcase, filled it with whatever he needed, and started to walk to Monsieur Martin's apartment, when Monsieur Maurice in building number C told the French and the Nazis, the French did all the dirty work for the Nazis. Excuse me. I have trouble with my fingers. So they picked up my father in the schoolyard. They came looking for my 2 brothers. Adolphe was now 18, and my younger brother was 16. My mother hid them under the bed. The reason I told you we had no running water is because we had one of those enamel bathtubs. So she hid them under the bed and put the bathtub in front of them. I'm sure the inspector that came up must have seen him, but decided not to see them. So on that day, my father was taken away, his brother Leon was taken away, and my Aunt Rose's husband was taken away. Pétain made a deal with the Nazis. They could take all the European Jews that they wanted, but they were to leave the French Jews alone. My aunt's husband, my Aunt Rose's husband, was born in a place called Drancy. In those days, only rich people had cars, only rich people had telephones. So we lived within a walking distance of one another because, as I mentioned before, we were very close. And my uncle was stopped in the street, and they said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to visit my family." "Where were you born?" He says, "In Drancy." "What's your name?" "Salomon Yokovich." "Drop your pants." And because he was circumcised, he too was taken on that day. We're going to look for a letter. Let's go forward so I can show them the letter that my uncle has written. This is it. Thank you. And it starts by, "Dear wife and daughter, I received your card. I'm very happy to hear from you." Over here, he mentions my father right here, who also received a letter from his wife and a colis, which was food, that the nourriture is what is nourished. We know what that means, and that's nourriture. And they also needed it. He did not have a chance to have anything with him because he was coming to visit. So he's asking for all personal articles. And he's also asking for cigarettes because he was a smoker. I don't know how my mother or my aunt got them out of the hospital. I got them out of Drancy. I don't know how they did. They were taken to l'Hôpital Tonneau, which is on the right bank of Paris, a Catholic hospital. Both had major surgery and survived it all. Now, Anita came out. Only French Jews could stay in the Hôpital Tonneau. All the others had to be moved to the left bank, the hospital Rothschild. The good thing about it, we were allowed to see them 3 hours a week. So my mother would go by herself. Another time she would take my two older brothers. And then she took my sister and I. I was so excited. He was coming home New Year's Day. As far as that was concerned, we'd have our get-togethers again and everything would be wonderful. That was December 28th, 1941. My mother went to see him on December 30th, 1941, and he told my mother that at 10 o'clock he had been injected with something, and he felt very sick, and he died in her arms Tuesday, December 30th, 1941. My uncle, who was at l'Hôpital Tonneau, told his wife that at 10 o'clock in the morning he had been injected with something, and he died in my aunt's arms, Tuesday, December 30th, 1941. When we found out that both of them had died, it took us hours. They had a huge funeral. People we did not know. They had a funeral of 1,500 people because they were the first Jews to die under the Nazi occupation. We're going to look for the cemetery picture. This is where my, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm going to put this down. This is where, right here in the middle, my father and my uncle. The grave holds 30 graves. They hold 30 graves. This is my aunt. This is me prior to coming to the United States. This is my aunt's daughter. This is my uncle's sister, and that's his niece. And this is me again, and that's my cousin. I don't have to tell you, there were no more get-togethers on Saturday night. My house was so sad, and I was so unhappy. School was coming to an end, and my mother said to me, "Rachel, I'm going to send you to the country." Oh, I was so happy. I wanted to be happy. I didn't want to be sad. I wanted everything that we had before. So she told me that my best friend Cecile was going to go with me, and the most important thing to me, my sister Sabine was going to go with me. Sabine's birthday was July 15th, 1942. My Aunt Rose promised her a handbag, but she had to be in Paris to receive it. So Sabine decided that she would come on July the 18th. Before I left, my mother said to me, Rachel, I'm going to give you a new name. Your new name is Christine, and you are not allowed to tell anybody that you're Jewish. If I'd ever lied, I would have been punished. Here, my mother is telling me to lie, and I'm accepting it. I understood my father had just died because he was Jewish. So I said yes. So my friend Cecile and I went away to this farm. And it was everything I wanted it to be. Kids were playing, they were singing, riding bicycles, everything that kids do for a day and a half. A day and a half later, a kid came up and started to talk about this big raid where they're picking up the Jews and taking them to labor camps. It was always labor camps. By the way, they never said that they died. The word that they used was déporté, which means sent over to a different place. That's the French they used. That's the word they used to refer to the people that they were taking out of their homes, déporté. The 18th came, and Cecile's mother got off the bus. I said, where's Sabine? She said, oh, she went shopping. I said, in our family, when we make a promise, we keep it. And she said, please don't ask me so many questions. So we started to walk towards the farm. And they asked me to stay outside. I ran in and I said, if you don't tell me what happened to my family, I'm going to run away to Paris. So Madame Thiel told me that on July the 16th, they picked up my mother, my brother Adolphe and Henri, and my sister Sabine. I was so angry at my mother. Why didn't she keep me with her? She didn't love me. Of course my mother loved me. She sent me away. She must have had a feeling that something was happening. She was trying to save Sabine, but Sabine wanted that handbag. What's going to happen to me? I'm 9 years old. I'm the farm. You have to pay the farm. I'm under an assumed name. What's going to happen? I cried for 3 solid weeks. Then I got a letter from my Aunt Rose, who said that as soon as things quieted down, she would take me back to Paris. An edict came out. Anyone hiding a Jewish child, if you report them to the police, they'll give you 300 francs. This farmer, whose name I do not remember, I bless her soul every time I tell my story, wrote a letter to my aunt asking permission as to whether or not she should report me to the police. My aunt sent her the 300 francs, so as a result, I was saved twice, once by my mother and once by this farmer. Things quieted down, and my aunt brought me back to Paris. The first thing I wanted to do was to go back to the place where I lived. That was the day that they were looting our apartment. Now, my sister was supposed to bring my doll, but Madame Thiel didn't know that my sister was supposed to bring my doll. So I asked permission if I could go upstairs to get my doll, and they said no. She was from Alsace-Lorraine and spoke a little German. She was talking to them. She said, it was such a nice family. Why don't you let her go upstairs? I went upstairs, and what I took, not my doll, I took these pictures that you see. I was 9 years old. The most important thing to me was having the pictures of my family. And very few children have pictures of their family. Some don't even have a picture of a mother or father. So I am so fortunate that I had the ability and the sense to do this, because there is nothing more precious than pictures, and you can never, never replace them. So I went to live with my aunt, and now I'm going to show you the star that we had to wear. It fell on the floor. This is the star that we had to wear. And in French, it spells juif, J-U-I-F. You had to wear it on the outside of your clothes, and it had to be at a certain height. If you did not have it at a certain height, you could be sent to a concentration camp. It had to be exact. What did that mean? It meant that we had a curfew of 8 o'clock at night. It meant that we had to do grocery shopping between the hours of 3 and 4. Sometimes we were allowed to go to school. Sometimes we were not allowed to do anything. We were vermin. We were subhuman. We had no right to exist. When I walked in the street, if a Nazi was walking by, I had to go. I couldn't be on the sidewalk. I had to be in the street to let him pass. And God forbid that you accidentally looked at their eyes. You could be sent away for anything. It was horrific. It was frightening. And I went to bed till I was 12 and a half years old. I used to go to sleep at night with cotton in my ears. What were they doing with all these people? What were they doing? Where were they sending them away? They were in a place called Val d'Hiver, which is comparable to the Enterprise Center. They had 6 bathrooms. 3 of them faced the street. So what they did is they closed them off. And they put a tarp over the roof. 17,000 people. They had 6 bathrooms, now they had 3. Were in that place, Val d'Hiver, with no sanitation, no food, no anything. And it was from infants to seniors. From there, they were sent to various camps. My family was sent to a camp called Pithiviers, which is about 250 kilometers outside of Paris. A German soldier fell in love with my sister. I couldn't blame him because she was so lovely. She was beautiful, but she was beautiful inside, not just outside. She was so special. He wanted to marry. He came in civilian clothes. He wanted to marry her. My aunt gave him permission to marry her. She had just turned 15. He brought out 3 letters. My aunt burnt them, but the first letter is imprinted in my brain. And it starts of how she's hungry, she's sick, and she wants out. By the time he went back, she was on a convoy to Auschwitz. And that was the last time that I heard from my family. I kept changing identity. When I was wearing the star, I was Rachel. When I was not wearing the star and I was in hiding, my name was Christine, and I was Christine. never made a mistake. I never made a mistake. I was in a convent for a year and a half. I was almost baptized and had my first communion, but my aunt would not allow us to be baptized. So the Mother Superior threw us out. Again, I kept going back and forth, going back and forth. I was so frightened. It was terrible. And of course, we had rationing. You know, when I used to get up from the table with my finger, every little piece of bread that I missed, I used to pick it up and make sure I ate it, because that's how hungry we were. One Hanukkah, I got one orange for Hanukkah. My aunt had to sell blankets and sheets to buy them in the black market. There was such a thing as the black market. Soon, June 6, 1944, a wonderful day, the invasion of Normandy. However, it did not change anything until the Nazis signed in May of 45. They kept taking Jews and sending them away. The Nazis killed 6 million Jews, but in total they actually killed 17 million Jews. Not Jews, pardon me, of all faiths. They started with the handicapped. They started with the Jehovah's Witnesses, with gays, with gypsies, and also with Russians. The Russians were the ones that liberated Auschwitz. And they took all the documents that the Nazis preserved and took it to Russia. Now, how could a civilized and cultured, intelligent people commit all these atrocities? I'll tell you a little story. At the end of the day, in this camp, Majdanek, Auschwitz had toilets. Majdanek did not. So the last person to use the pot had to go to the fence and empty it out. The guard was in his little guardhouse, and they didn't like the way that man emptied out the pot. He made him get undressed with that pajamas and the clogs, took everything off. This was winter time, and told him to stand there till the next morning. Who told that God that he should do that to that person? He was all alone. But just to show you the mentality that they had, this man survived to tell the story, which was really a miracle of miracles. May 5th, 1945. But before that, my aunt became very scared because they had taken almost all the European Jews. All that was left was the French Jews. And she was afraid that something could happen. So she heard about this orphanage in the middle of France, and she decided to send my cousin and I to the orphanage. We need to go back. That's it. This is me over here. I'm busy talking. And this is my little cousin. And as I mentioned, I love to dance and sing. This is me over here. And this is my little cousin, and I'm not in this picture. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. We were 60 children whose parents had been deported, and this American soldier was walking by, and he heard children speaking. So he asked to speak to the director. And the director told him that we were children whose parents had been deported, blah, blah, blah. And then this soldier said he wanted to meet one of the children who was there. So the director asked me to come in and recite a Jewish poem. It's called The Tabak Pushka, and it's by a very famous poet, Sholem Aleichem, not Sholem, yeah, Sholem Aleichem. And he brought 300 soldiers to the base, to the orphanage, and we had lice in our hair from malnutrition. And the nurses, the WAC, as they were called, washed our hair, and they bought all kinds of goodies, and they also bought grapefruits. We didn't know how to eat them, so we ate them with the skin, and we decided we did not like grapefruits, and we didn't want them anymore. And with that, there were two other soldiers who were interested in adopting me to bring me to the United States. But I knew Harry, he had just met me. The problem is that Harry started molesting me. I was 11 and a half years old when he started. And the only good thing I can say about Harry is that he brought me to the United States, and for that I'm grateful. But beyond that, I am not. I was in 5 different foster homes until I was married. I always wanted to find out what happened to my family. I kept thinking, my mother was not in the best of health. Probability, she might have gotten sick and not being taken care of. Still thinking that there was some place where it was a living place. My 2 brothers were handsome and they were tall, and of course my sister, who was so beautiful, who would want to hurt her? It took me a long time to get the information of how they died. And we're going to go through the documents. This is the soldier, I don't want to show his picture, that brought me over. This is, the Germans kept accurate records of everything that they did. They were educated, they were cultured people, but they were inhuman. Inhuman. This is for my mother, Goldman Raja. She was born in 1901 to Camp Pithiviers, Juden. They had a different name for everybody, to concentration camp on the 6th and 7th of August, 1942. This is for my brother Adolphe. He was born April 20th, 1924. Newton Rajane Rabinovich. This is my mother's maiden name. Paris 11e, rue du Faubourg Saint-Antoine, 275. To Camp Pithiviers, Jude. To concentration camp on the 31st of July, 1942. Died there on the 17th of October, 1942, at 9:30 p.m. Cause of death, enteritis with bodily weakness. This is for my brother Henri, Goldman Hirsch, August 29, 1926, to Warsaw, Nathan Rajane Rabinovich, Paris 11e, Faubourg Saint-Antoine, 275, to Camp Pithiviers, Jude, to concentration camp on the 31st July, 1942. Died there on January the 5th, 1943 at 4:25 p.m. Cause of death, myocardial weakness. In order to have the cause of death, they had to open up a medical book, but they were protecting themselves, and everything that sounded right to them, they put on the their death certificate. For my mother and my sister, when they arrived in Auschwitz, they went to the showers immediately. And I want to tell you that I am so glad that my mother and my sister didn't have to suffer like my brothers did. You know what the Germans made them do? They made them get undressed, fold their clothes, tie their shoes together, so when they would come out, they would find their clothes. To the very last, they had the sham and made them do what they wanted them to do. Of course, when they were inside the shower, they dropped Zyklon B gas into the showers, all became asphyxiated, and from there, they would go through the bodies to see if there was gold, diamonds, and money, and silver. And then they would put them in the crematorium. I went to Auschwitz twice, but I also went to other camps. And to me, the worst camp that I saw, it's about 80% intact, is Majdanek in Poland. It is unbelievable, unbelievable. I got those documents for the International Red Cross. When the war was over, as I mentioned before, they were liberated by the Russians, so they had all the archives. The International Red Cross went to Russia and asked if they could pick up the archives. And this is how I got the documents. I got them in April of 2001 is when I got them. That told me that everybody had been murdered. I lost 93 people in the war. My mother came from a family of 13, my father from a family of 8. Both my grandmothers were living at the start of the war. All of them were married and had children. I didn't know 93 people. I only knew the people in France. I did not know the Polish family. This is most of my story. Can we, yeah, that was good. Go back to that picture. This is my family, our 40th anniversary. We were in Acapulco. This is my youngest son, Mark. He had an IQ of 162. He went to Princeton and Yale. He was gay, and he died of AIDS. That was my second Holocaust. He was a lawyer. This is my oldest son, Neil. He is a retired lawyer, and that's his wife, Marcy. She's retired also. This is my oldest granddaughter, and she is a lawyer. And this is my youngest granddaughter, and she is in marketing. This is me. This is my husband. And this is Mark. He was sick already because he's wearing a beard. This is a bar mitzvah. I'm sure I don't have to explain what it is. This is Isaac's bar mitzvah. And my husband was sick over here because he's not wearing his glasses. And that was my granddaughter and my granddaughter. I went to Auschwitz twice, as I mentioned. The first time I went, all of you, are you familiar with the Warsaw Ghetto? Yeah? Okay. The Nazis, in order to stop them from fighting, burnt down the whole city of Warsaw to the ground. The whole city. That's how they stopped them. It took them 23 days. So we had gone to Auschwitz, and now we were walking in Warsaw, and this is where my parents' block, the block that they were married at. This would be approximately the hall that they would have been married at. But the thing that was interesting is that you see it says Miller's Art. So they asked me to pose for Miller's Art. And we are all child survivors. I used to live in Los Angeles. We lost Trudy. Otherwise, Daisy is sick now, very sick. And this is me over here. And we had heard so much about a slumber party, we wanted to have one, so we had our own. And this is my story. And thank you for listening. I would say, if you have the opportunity to tell the story to the people you know or your children, tell them that there was such a thing as the Holocaust. It is not made up. It's not fictional. It's actual. It's factual. So, and then the new Holocaust Museum opened up November the 2nd. We have the Helen, would you stand up for a minute, please, Helen? Helen is the educator at the Holocaust Museum, and she's doing a great job, and it's worthwhile seeing, and you'll see a lot of what I've talked to you about. It's very important to see it and to remember it. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you for your spirit, for your energy. Now that we have the opportunity to ask Rachel some questions, all of you in the auditorium, please raise your hand if you'd like to ask Rachel a question. Steve DeSalvo down by the bottom of the stage will call on you and call you to the microphone down there. Folks on the Zoom, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Type in your concise questions, and we have some Hillel student leaders who will read your questions to Rachel. So again, anyone in the auditorium, you can raise your hand, and Steve will call on you. In the meantime, we have one question that was sent in advance for Rachel, and they wanted to know, what was your depth of understanding of what was happening around you at the time?
I'm sorry?
The question was, how much did you understand what was going on around you at the time? Did you understand that, did you recognize that you were watching one of the greatest tragedies in history unfold?
For the most part, everyone is listening and understand that there was such a thing as the Holocaust. I've only had 2 deniers in all the time that I have spoken. And I would be easily to say that I've spoken to at least 15,000 to 18,000 people, children and adults. Is that the question?
Sure.
Anybody else? Don't be shy. Somebody has to be the first one. And
as a retired faculty member and a person who's been to our... My name's John Lewington, I'm one of your neighbours.
Yes.
I think there's a second story that you can tell us.
I'm sorry?
I think there's a second story that you can tell us. And that is, how did you get to America and make your life here? Because that wasn't easy. People think it was easy after World War II. It was not easy. Would you like to tell us about that?
You are so right, Joe. Absolutely right. When I came to America, aside from going to the soldiers' home for 9 months, I wanted to tell them what happened to me as a child. I was still a child, but I wanted to tell them. And nobody wanted to listen. And the reason they did not want to listen was because the war had just been over. I came over in 1946. Many had lost husbands, brothers, sons, cousins, whatever, and they had their own problem. So, and when you have just think about it. When you are not feeling well and someone is telling you, oh, my head hurts, and and they're not listening. They're telling you what they want to tell you, but they're not listening. So this is what happened. It really came back. It really came into fruition with Steven Spielberg, when he made the Shoah film and documents. That's when people really started to ask questions. And that's the reason why. That was a very good question. This is the first time someone asked me, in all the years that I've spoken, asked me that question, which is actually so relative to the way it was. Thank you.
So somebody on Zoom asked, has it become easier over time to talk about the Holocaust and the family you have lost?
I can't hear, and
So the question was, has it become easier over time to talk about the Holocaust and the family you lost?
what's your name?
I'm Terry.
Hi, Terry. I have to say that it's not easy. It's never easy. But I have to tell my history, and this is my way of keeping my family alive. I was an orphan, but I had a family. So by talking about my family, it makes it so much easier, because I miss them still. And I'll miss them till the day I die. That I know for sure.
Do you ever know what happened to your cousin at the orphanage?
Yes, she came to the United. What's your name?
Sydney? Sydney?
Sydney. Hi, Sydney.
Hi.
My cousin came to America with her mother in June 50, and she lived in New York, got married, had a daughter, has a daughter, but she has since passed away, and so has my aunt passed away. Thank you for asking, Sydney. Hi, what's your name?
Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi. I was wondering, how did you meet your husband and how old were you whenever you
I
got
met him
married?
in the fourth foster home where I live. It was July 4th weekend, and it was 93 degrees at 12 o'clock at night. And this family had what I would call, it was called the Brighton Bowl on Brighton 6th Street. I would have to say that my husband came with one of his friends. One of the girls from the foster home was going with his friends. And the first day I saw him, I said I was going to marry him, and I did. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
What's your name?
My name is Emma.
Emma?
Yes.
That's a pretty name.
Thank you. And we have a question on Zoom from Rachel. They asked, did your aunt also come to the United States?
Yes, she did. She came with her daughter in 1950.
And we just got another from Samantha. They asked, when were you able to find a sense of peace? Have you found a sense of peace?
I don't really know how to answer that. You get to a point in your life where you accept certain things, whether they're good or they're not good. So I think I've sort of made peace with some of the things that I didn't like. Doesn't mean I don't think about them, but I've accepted the fact that they're gone. Thank you. Thank you, Emma. Hi. What's your name?
I'm Sam.
Sam? Hi, Sam.
When you were still in France and you had to wear the star and other times where you didn't, what was life like when you had to wear the star or when you didn't?
Well, it was very frightening when I wore the star, and it was also frightening when I was Christine. The reason I was frightened when I was Christine, I was afraid they'd find out I was Jewish. And if they found out that I was Jewish, I would be sent away. So I was, either way, I was afraid. Thank you, Sam. Hi.
Hi, I would like to ask, when the first time you went back to Auschwitz, I'm pretty sure it would be a very overwhelming experience. Can you tell us what was going inside your head when the first time you went back?
You didn't give me your name.
My name is Himansh. Himansh.
Evanche?
Himansh.
M. Hosh.
Himansh.
I'll call you Hosh, okay?
Okay, that works.
When I went to Auschwitz, I kept thinking, and I've said this before, how could such cultured people commit such atrocities? Auschwitz has been, it's about 10% intact. The camp, concentration camp in Majdanek is the one that really shows exactly what it was, because everything is left, it's intact. They didn't have time to destroy it. In Auschwitz, I was there with my son, 1919. It's getting very commercial. It's like going to Coney Island. It's lost its impact, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So thank you for asking, Hosh.
Thank you.
Bye. Terry, okay, you're back.
So Haley wants to know, what does your Jewish identity mean to you now, and has that changed throughout your life?
Say that to my ear so I can hear you.
What does your Jewish identity mean to you now, and has that changed throughout your life?
Judaism has always been part of my life, and it will always be till the day I die. I was born Jewish, and I want to die Jewish. Hi, what's your name?
Madeline.
Oh, pretty name, Madeline.
Thank you. What decided if you would wear the star versus not wearing the star?
You have to talk to me over here on the microphone. I can't understand.
What decided when you would wear the star versus not wearing the star?
Not wearing the star?
The star, yes.
When you wore the star, I couldn't do anything. We had no amenities. We were not allowed to do anything. My little cousin was 3.5 years old, and they took away her tricycle. Can you imagine taking away a tricycle? My aunt had a radio. She had to turn in the radio. They took everything. Just because they said, I don't want you to have it, and that was it. And there was no arguing. And believe me, you did not argue with them. And I can stand up for myself, but I'm not then. Thank you, Madeline. And what's your name?
Anne.
Anne, nice to meet you.
I assume your husband is Jewish?
My husband was Jewish.
Did he have a similar experience to
No,
you? Was he in Paris? What is his history and his experience?
He was an American. He was born in America.
Okay.
And he served in the army. And I had wonderful in-laws. My mother-in-law, I don't know if you're familiar with the word shiva. You know what that is?
I've heard of
It means that when, it's like a wake.
After
It's
somebody
like
dies, you sit.
You sit for 8 days.
Okay.
Okay? And I sat shiva for my mother-in-law because she was such a wonderful lady. And my husband's brothers and sisters, he came from a family of 6, were my family. They became my family.
And second thing, I'm just curious how you live in St. Louis?
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up in Missouri?
Well, my oldest son came to work for Apex Soil. Are you familiar with Apex Soil? He came to work for Apex Soil. And he took his wife and my granddaughters. And Mark had just died. And I just could not live in Los Angeles anymore. The traffic there is unbelievable. And I had a good reason to leave it, just to be with to be here with my children. And just to put it, I love St. Louis. And I'll repeat it. I love St. Louis. Thank you, Anne.
I have a question. My name is Steve.
Hi, Steve.
You had said something earlier in your presentation about, I think it was your father and your brother being injected. I know there were stories about the Nazis doing medical experiments.
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, all I can say is my mother went to see him. I saw him 2 days before he died, and he was fine. Like I said, he was coming home New Year's Day. As far as I was concerned, everything was going to be perfect. I do not know exactly what he was injected with. I don't know. But my uncle and him were both injected with something. Who knows what they did? So I can't really speak about it because I'm not really knowledgeable on it. I can only speak on what I remember. All I know is that I know they were injected because I heard my family talk about it. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, if there's another question in the audience or on Zoom. Okay.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank you. Thank you. And I want to wish you all happy Turkey Day.
And before we head out, just a few closing remarks. On behalf of the entire Maryville community, we want to thank you, Rachel, for your inspiring message, for bringing yourself, your presence to our campus, to our community, and for sharing your story with us. Maryville Hillel with all... Say again? Yes.
The confidence you're talking about, to me, the most important word is respect. I know we all talk about love, but if you don't have respect, you don't have anything. And you have to respect yourself first before you can respect another human being. And that's my philosophy. And I respect myself. And I hope that each one of you, I wish that you do that for yourself. Because if you do that for yourself, you'll be a better person and you can be kind to somebody else. And you can listen to them and communicate with them.
Beautiful message. Thank you. Maryville Hillel would like to thank our sponsors who make this and every Hillel event possible: the Jewish Federation of St. Louis, the Steinberg Family Foundation, the Silk Family Foundation, the Kranzberg Family Foundation, and all the individual donors who help to support Jewish life at Maryville. Todd Lewis, Jacqueline Blankenship, and the facilities team are to thank for the event setup, and Aaron Chastain is our tech guru. Special thanks to Helen Turner, Amy Lutz, and Haley Stodart from the newly reopened St. Louis Kaplan Feldman Holocaust Museum. If you're looking to learn more about the Holocaust, this museum is a fantastic resource, and it's only 10 miles away from campus, just opened up earlier this month, reopened. Rachel will stay nearby for the next few minutes if anyone in person wants to thank her personally. You can also write a note of gratitude to Rachel that we will share with her At the end of the feedback form that's linked on this QR code, it's also on your programs. The form will take less than 5 minutes to fill out, and it helps us to improve our events in the future. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you again, Rachel Miller. You've been wonderful.
Hey, no one asked me about my doll. And I have to tell you the story. This is not the doll that was left. I bought this doll a few years ago in Paris. This friend of my son worked, she was a paralegal at Warner Brothers, and she wrote a play about Mark and I. And we went to the store, and I saw this doll. She was in a box, and I brought her home. And a friend of mine called me and said, "Oh, I got myself a doll." It was July 4th weekend. I said, she says, "Can you bring it?" Sure. So I bought the doll, and this woman looked at the tag. What was my name when I was in hiding? Who did I go away with? You said it. Cecile. The name of the doll, and I did not know that, is Christine and Cecile. So she plays a very important part in my life. This is why she sits here on her throne. And I'm finished for good. I'm finished for good jokes.